Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a topic that in my TikTok ages ago I said I would cover this and never got around to it. So, for those of you waiting for the Faces of Loki, that will be done. Planning on having it done by the time I go to bed Sunday night. But for now, um, I do want to go back to that topic since there were a lot of people who wanted to hear about it from before. And that was the topic of using spirituality as a way of victim blaming and gaslighting, and sometimes not even realizing it. Now, what brought that about, excuse me, was seeing yet another post online about, don't worry about other people lying about you. Let people believe what they're going to believe and live your life. In a way, I can see the point. At the same time, as adults, we often can't afford to do that. Okay? When we're young and we're playing on the playground and everything, yeah, and kids tell rumors and gossip, and we know that. That shouldn't be allowed either. We should start at a young age saying, no, you don't let people just keep lying about you. But that's another thing. Even if you do allow it at childhood age, as adults, we cannot let people keep going through the process of, oh, well, it doesn't matter what others think. I love me. That is good that you love yourself. But here's the thing. As adults, lies told by adults about other adults actually have real harm and real consequences. Okay? Unless they're just childish, which we're not counting them as adults. Okay? But adults, they're not running around going, oh, so-and-so has a crush on you. Or, oh, so-and-so picks their nose. No, that is not adult lies. Adult lies are things like, so-and-so cheated on their spouse when they didn't. And then that person ends up having trouble with their marriage. Adult lies are, oh, this person did something wrong at work on purpose, and that person loses their job. Adult lies are things like, this person is neglecting their child or is a bad parent because, I don't agree with them, and then they lose their children. Adult lies have real consequences, and we cannot just sit there and say, oh, it doesn't matter what other people think of you, because we're not talking about opinions. We're talking about actual harmful lies that are made for the purpose of manipulating others into leaving you behind and causing you harm. It's literally causing harm. So for those people who do follow the whole no harm, you're literally encouraging people to continue harming others and then telling people to let them continue harming them. We can't do that. So the problem is it doesn't just stop there. That was just one of the things that brought this about. So really what this is more of why these love and light only, good vibes only, no harm, etc. are going too far. And it's not healthy and it's not good. You need the balance, okay? So that's just one example, just letting you know where, this thought came from. So I'll give you another example of that. Let's say you have someone who goes and tells a lie about you. It is not true. You know it's not true. But you think, oh, it's not worth the fight. Let me just think positive. You cannot positively think your way out of your job firing you. The court's taking your children. Okay? That is not what manifestation ever was. and we need to stop. So moving on from there, not only the telling of lies being ignored, but then these same people who say this about let people think what they want will turn around and say, oh, always honor your truth. How are you honoring your truth? If you let other people continue to lie about you and you stay there and be polite to them and be friendly to them like it never happened, which only serves to teach them they can keep doing it. You're not actively hurting people. And really, it's not harm if you are fixing a problem that they caused. I don't see any one of you running and saying, oh, well, we've got to think positive and be positive and never hurt anybody, so let's don't put that criminal in jail even though we know they did wrong. I don't see you saying that. No, you pick and choose, and you try to pull spirituality as an excuse to not fucking do the work. Because it might be difficult. Well, I'm sorry, but what's more difficult? Living with having your life potentially ruined because other people lied and you're just too nice to say anything, or standing up for yourself and at least someone somewhere heard it and might actually believe it, so you might still have an ally if you speak your truth. So that's, again, just the kickoff of what happens and how this topic came to me to do. But then, that also leads into, like I touched on a second ago, the whole manifestation issue. Manifestation, pretty much by definition, if you make a thing happen, you manifested it. Now, this whole theory that's been the last few years of people saying anything you think will manifest. That's true if you do the work that goes with it. Have you sat here and thought, I'm getting $1 million until it landed in your lap? No. And you know damn well it won't happen, because that's not how it works. So, when someone says something that you view as negative, one, that's your opinion. Two, stating a fact is not the same as thinking negative thoughts. So if someone says, I do not have the money for a new house that I want, and then you say, oh, you're never going to have the money if you keep thinking that way and keep thinking negative. Okay, they didn't say they were just going to sit there and not ever fix it. They said they currently do not have that money, which they do not. They stated a fact. They are not poor because they said it. They're saying it because they already are poor. So if you got your cause and effect flip-flopped around, and then you go and you shame them for it. When really, deep down, if you think about it, you just don't want to hear anything that's not happy. Because then you might have to do your spiritual work of helping others. Well, another example. People go through a lot, especially now. The economy is really bad. And so if someone says they've tried this, and this, they've tried everything they can and it's not getting fixed. That is not their fault that they don't qualify for whatever benefit they were trying to get, that they don't qualify for the job they tried to get. You can't blame them for thinking wrong. How do you even come up with that? I'm sorry, it pisses me off. When people are telling you they did this, and this thing has still not happened yet. And they're getting sad because they're trying everything that they are physically, legally able to do, and you're shaming them like it's their fault it's not working. Why? Again, have you tried sitting on your bed and thinking, oh, I want $1 million. I'm going to have $1 million. I'm going to have $1 million. Boop! There's a golden toilet in your fucking bathroom now. No, it doesn't happen that way, and you know it. So stop telling people they are the cause of problems in their life that are caused by outside circumstances. And I'll tell you part of why that happens. It's all about money. There are people in these light worker communities, especially online, that they will say, you are manifesting this yourself by thinking this way. But you pay me this much money for this class and I will teach you how to fix it. And then you go and you pay them that money and then you take the class and you don't quite get the results you wanted. So what do? You go and you tell them and they're like, okay, well, you've still got to work on this, this, and this. And if you do actually get what you want somehow, then you go and you teach these other people the same shit. And what you're doing is you're making this trail of money. It's like a spiritual pyramid scheme. And that is what you're doing when you're teaching people that every fucking thing that happens to them is their fault. There are causes for everything. Everything doesn't happen for a reason. Everything doesn't happen because you thought it too much. You know? You go to work, you save the money, you make the money. For some people, it's less time than others to get it done. It also kind of depends on where you live, what job skills you have, how much your employer is willing to pay. None of that is within your control at this point in time. Oh, well, you can go get new job skills. Yeah, you going to pay for the classes for them? They got to save the money to get that, to get the class, to get that. And it's a process. So as long as they're not just stopping the process and giving up entirely, leave them alone and quit telling them it's their fault. Okay? Now, next part. Again, watch your positivity. Because a lot of you are not as positive as you think. If you're telling people how to be spiritual, if they are not on the same spiritual path as you, then you are being no better than the paths you claim to leave behind. And no, I'm not just talking about Christians and Abraham-based faiths. There are others out here who do similar. But you can't tell these people that they have to do it your way. Because part of spirituality is getting in tune with your personal spirit, who you are, and your higher power, your internal self, your higher self, whatever term you use. And it is not anyone's place to tell you how that must always work, because it doesn't. It doesn't. If it did always work that way, there would not be so many different people in different positions in life. The universe itself, yes, there are guidelines, but it too has random things happen. This star is not the same as this star. In fact, that is how they tell them apart, by their differences. So you can't expect, especially those of you who do the as above, so below, or as without, so within, and then yet you tell people that they're not allowed to be like the universe itself. Even science backs this up. Fuck spirituality, science even tells you this. So you can't keep telling people they have to stay only this one way. Only this will work for them. Maybe it works for you. Maybe it doesn't. You don't know. You're too busy looking at all your positive shit to even think about the shadows. So don't tell them what to do. Now, speaking of that, these same people who talk about positive vibes only. Well, what is it you call positive? Because I've seen some people that legitimately try. And you'll say, they'll admit this thing is bad. This is not happy. This is not healthy. And then let's think positive and try to make it better. Okay, that I can deal with. But most of the people online, especially in certain communities, and again, the so-called light worker and the angel workers and etc., if you keep putting whole positive vibe only, and then you tell people not to think anything negative whatsoever, you're not honoring the whole being, which is what you claim you are trying to do. Things in life are not always positive. Things in life are not always light, happy, bright. Again, we've talked about balance before. If you are stuck in the dark for months and months and months, and you finally go into light, yes, it's going to hurt your eyes for a little bit, and then you adjust. Same way, you're in the light, and you turn out the light. We do it every night when we go to bed. You turn out the light, it's suddenly dark, your eyes slowly adjust. Why? Because they are geared to adjust. You are geared to adjust. You cannot have it all one way. We have, especially those of us who follow pagan paths, nature-based paths. Why? If you base your beliefs and thoughts and actions on what nature does, then tell me what planet you're living on where your end of the world never turns away from the sun. That's a lie. And you know it. And then you'll sit there and tell people that they are being negative. Maybe you have to look at the negative to figure out how to fix it. If you've got a broken arm and you want it to get better, most people would treat the broken arm. They don't sit there and pretend it's not broken. And it just magically gets better because they said in their head, oh, it's not broke, it's not broke. Guess what happens if you keep acting like it's not broke when it is? It gets more broke. And you can even lose it for not ever fixing it. And it's the same with spiritual. God, your spiritual being needs that balance. You have to look at the negative to fix it. And sometimes the negative isn't really negative, it's just not what you expected or not what you wanted. Oh yeah, y'all teach that lesson a lot. People will sit there and say, well, sometimes it's not a hardship, it's just a lesson being learned. And you do this whole reason for everything. Okay, if you truly believe that, then why are you telling people not to look at the negatives? Because if they ignore it, they're not going to learn the lesson, are they? Again, y'all talking in circles, and it makes no sense. I don't think you even know what you're really saying half the time. That's probably why you're saying 3 or 4 different things that all mean different things and contradicting yourself on a daily basis. So, you gotta find a balance. Now, I'll see these people saying, positive vibes only. Don't be negative. Don't think negative. Oh, if you think that, you're going to manifest that. Blah, 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 blah. And then they turn around and what do they post? Oh, I've been working on my shadows lately. Really? How you doing that? 2 seconds ago you said they didn't exist. You know what shadow work is? It is not sitting there going, ah, yeah, that was funny. You know, I've seen people say they were doing their shadow work, and really what they were doing was just letting go of things that no longer serve them. Shadow work is inside. Has nothing to do with people outside. Now, if you sit there and go, why does this bother me? Is there something in me that is scared at this moment? And you dive deep into the sad, the scary, the frightful, the negative, as you call it, then you're approaching your shadow work. You're not doing shadow work just by saying, oh, I'm rethinking how I think things. Way more to it. And if you've convinced yourself that there's only room for positive, happy thoughts, guess what? You're not going to learn anything. No, I had actually a doctor, medical doctor, tell me, fear in and of itself is not bad. It is what makes us do the things we need to survive. If you're afraid of starving, you're going to eat. If you're afraid of not having money to get what you need, you're going to go get money. So if you are afraid you're going to get burnt, you don't touch the fire. So those kinds of emotions are actually meant for us to have for our safety. And then you tell people that to be spiritual, they need to not even do that. So, how do you expect them to go through life and be safe and grow when you're telling them to not acknowledge or talk about anything holding them back? You can't fix a problem if you don't look at it. And then to top it off, saying all these contradictory things, you want to go and shame people for trying to get better. That's what you're doing. We go back to the whole lies story we were talking about earlier. People actually do stand up for that. And they stand up for themselves. And you don't talk bad on them for just thinking too negative, when all they're doing is speaking their truth like you told them to. And then when you have the people who, better example, people who are being oppressed, people who are in abusive or manipulating relationships, people who are discriminated against because they are part of some minority. If they speak about what is happening to them, and they stand up and they try to get away from it or tell the person, you know what, I'm done, fuck off. And you know what you do? You sit there and say, oh, well, you need to be more polite about it. You need to be more positive. You are helping the person that is hurting them. Someone being manipulative and abusive, and you're like, fuck it, I'm tired of them, screw them, cutting ties, I cannot be friends with you, or if you were friends with them, because if you love them, you can't be friends with people who hurt them. But then you'll sit there and say, oh, well, that's just being too negative. You can't cut everybody up. Really? Didn't you just say get rid of things that are no longer serving you? Again, you are harming people yourself when you tell them these things. And you're harming yourself by living in a fucking lie. And you know it. if you really stop and think and look deep down, you know it's not true, or otherwise it'd be happening for you too. You'd have that $1 million sitting in your lap because you just thought about it. You would never be sad because it doesn't bother you what people think of you. And if you say you're never sad, you're lying. That's how it is. And then, those same people are going to say, do no harm. No harm, no matter what. You're harming people emotionally by not letting them vent, by not letting them focus on what they need to in order to get better. You're telling them to just go magically get better. Might as well tell them to go become a doctor without going to medical school. Oh, they can think their way through it and positive vibe it, right? They can manifest that fucking degree. You know there's more to it than that. But no one's gonna pay you to fix it if you tell them that. Right? And then, as far as the no harm goes, you know there's not actually a way to do that. No matter what it is you are trying to do and accomplish with your work, especially those of us who practice magic, no matter what you are doing, someone will be negatively affected. You want a job. You do magic to get a job. You're applying for a job. Let's say your spell works and you get that job. Well, someone else who really needed that job, maybe even more than you need it, now did not get that job. But your spell worked. You didn't harm them. No, you just hindered them a little. Or, let's see, what's another case? You do a money spell. Not even job spell, just a money spell. And then suddenly you're getting paid money. Someone's giving you money to do whatever for whatever reason. Well, if it was because of your spell, then this person gave you money they otherwise would not have given you because there's no manipulation in magic? How's that work? They gave you money that they otherwise would not have given you. No harm in that. No, not harm as in it hurts them, holds them back, whatever. But it's still affecting others in a negative way, or taking away from them that you did not expect, did not plan, and then you can say all you want without harming anyone. Okay, well, we've already established that you need to be kind of specific with your magic. So if all you say is no harm, okay, well, their feelings weren't hurt and they weren't physically harmed. Okay, they weren't harmed. You know, and there's many other ways that can happen. That's just a couple of examples, the most common. You know, you think you're not. There's no way you can do any magic and not affect other people in some way. You know, you want the right love for you to come. Let's say you're doing a love spell. Not specific, because you're not going to control anyone's will. You just have the right person come to you. What if that right person already has somebody? What if that right person being with you means they're not with somebody else who's in love with them? I mean, the list goes on and on. There is no cut, straight ahead, black and white, harm, no harm in anything we do. We just can't. And again, not as ancient a teaching as people think. And I'll leave it at that. But, point of this being, you're doing all these things. You're contradicting what you claim to believe. You're contradicting almost every path that uses these principles. Some of you are out there doing this stuff while following particular religions and paths that actually tell you not to even be doing it. You know who you are. I'm sorry. You're out there. I don't care what you call your God. I don't care what path you claim to follow. You've got to stop and think how your path and your beliefs affect you and your work and how you work with others. Okay? Now, if I have someone come to me asking for guidance, asking for whatever, I will tell them my opinion, and it's based on my beliefs. At the same time, if they come to me and tell me what their particular path is, or that they're not the same as mine, then I will tell them, this is my view, look at it through the perspective of your faith. I can't tell you that. I can tell you, a lot of you are lying to yourselves when it comes to this, because you know what? The majority of people who come for readings are Christians and agnostics and atheists. Now I sometimes wonder about it. Like, are you really? Because all of those situations, like you're admitting you don't believe in anything higher, but yet you're coming to somebody to ask them to contact something higher to answer you. Or you believe there is something higher that doesn't really have anything to do with this, and yet you're going to ask another person to talk to that higher thing that doesn't have anything to do with this to come and tell you no. And then, of course, the others who literally tell you not to do this. So if you are contradicting your own self and your own beliefs, I'm not saying you can't practice what you want. What I am saying is, until you really align your belief system with what you are practicing and doing, it does make it difficult. And you will cause difficulties for yourself and those you try to help, because you're doing it from a different mindset. When you are working from a spiritual perspective in spiritual needs, you need to worry about that person's spirit as a whole and what their spirit thinks and believes, not yours. You know? Now, that is not to say if someone's scared they're going to go to hell, you back them up and tell them, yeah, you're right. Don't do that. But make sure you know what it is they believe, what path they follow, and if you cannot agree with letting them handle it the way they would in their path, do not take on the path of advisor for them. You know, if somebody comes to me and says, what does Loki think about me doing this thing? By the way, the Jotun are evil. I'm going to be like, I'm not helping you. You know, if someone comes to me and says, what does, you know, what should I do about this situation? Because I know Jesus says blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to be, okay, well, one, I do know what he said because I grew up studying that book. But I cannot help you answer questions about your soul. I can help you with general things about spirit as a person, regardless of faith, but in the end, if it goes against what you believe and practice, you're either not going to do it, or you're going to do it and then still have doubts and fears that make the situation worse, because now you're scared that you might have done wrong based on your path. Now, in and of itself, is it wrong to tell people to be positive? No. But again, the main thing being, everyone follows different paths. Everyone has their own beliefs and their own way of operating, their own way of feeling. You can't tell these people they have to do it only your way. You can give them guidance. You can tell them, this is what I feel, this is the message I'm getting. Those things are great. You can tell them generalized views that work for every path, because almost every path is going to say the general, love yourself, love other people, be kind when you can. You know, treat others as you would expect to be treated. These kinds of things they all tend to agree on, but then others take those steps further and say, okay, but if they're not treating you right, you do not deserve to keep being around them. If things are bad, you need to figure out how to fix it. And every one of them talks about honesty. So why would you tell people they're wrong to honestly say, this is something not happening well in my life right now? It's too many contradictions. And what it boils down to is, again, balance. Oh God, it's so cliche, but it's true. You can't appreciate how great the light is if you've never experienced the dark. Yeah? You can't fix a broken bone if you pretend it's not broken and keep using it. You have to find a balance. And you have to accept that what you've been taught, and especially those of you who learn almost everything you know from online posts and memes and light-only books, look at it from a different perspective. Take a freaking fine-tooth comb through it and ask yourself, okay, is that really not harming? What happens if I really do exactly what it says? You know? Just like the whole believing what doesn't serve you thing. That too technically would be harm to someone in some way, because even a narcissist is going to have their feelings hurt if you finally walk away. Not because they give a shit, but because they lost their plaything. They lost an object they feel they own. So they're gonna be hurt. They're not hurt, they lost you, but they're still hurt. They lost their thing that they own. So does that mean you tell people to sit and stay so you don't hurt their feelings? What about those of us who went through abuse? You know? Oh, well, it hurt him that he lost his wife. Yeah, he lost his wife. Could have been anybody, not just me. Could have been anybody he treated that way. No. Either way, you know, still hurt his feelings that he lost what he had, or that he got in trouble. He had a negative reaction. So, am I bad for leaving the man who beat the crap out of me and choked me to death in front of people? Well, I mean, yeah, I got away and I'm happy, but oh my God, I harmed him. I hurt his feelings. See what I'm saying? You're victim blaming. And the same shit is true for spiritual stuff. You know, you don't tell an assault victim it's their fault. So why would you tell a poor person it's their fault? I can understand if they threw all their money away, but, you know, it's not their fault for thinking they're poor when they are. So again, watch what you say. Take every little meme you see, every little book you see, and really dig through and look deeper than the face value. Because guess what? If you go inside, it is dark there. We call it going into ourselves. So think about it from the science perspective. Physical body. The light is shining on my skin right now, my hair. There's no light shining inside my body. It's not a fucking x-ray. Even then, it's not shining in, but get the point. Going inside is dark. And you do that to get the balance you need and fix the things. So quit telling people to ignore the darkness. Because in the end, you cannot go inside yourself and not go into the dark. It's impossible. So, that's all I've got. I know it seemed to be rambling, but I just had to get it out. Again, Sunday night, I hope to have the Faces of Loki video made and posted for you. And later tonight, I'll be posting also the general reading. I haven't done that in a while. I have my shuffling arm back now. I can see and move my arm and, you know, at least to shuffle cards. So I will be doing that later too. So, y'all have a great night. Hope you enjoyed the video. If not, there will be others on other topics. So please come back and see what else there is that you might actually like. So, y'all have a good night. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.